True leadership begins when you unlock the brilliance of the mind and lead with the resonance of the heart. Welcome, everyone. All right, we've got a great show for you today. So a lot of times we hear there are no good men out there. And we also hear women only want a financial provider. So what's all this about? We're going to be talking about this. So this kind of language has become the default language of modern relationships. And that just is an endless loop. So what if the problem isn't men or women? What if the problem is the system that we're all operating in? So this relationship marketplace, right, where men are reduced to what they produce and women are reduced to how we appear. And then we wonder why connection feels transactional. So today we're going to be pulling back the curtain on that system, Linda and I, and seeing how it's designed, how it keeps us failing, and how to step out of it. So I'm Mariquita Solis, the Uncaged Heart Coach. I work with men to break out of these systems, these patterns that keep them stuck in performance and disconnection, and keep them from what they really deserve in their lives: healthy relationships, integrated strength rooted in authenticity. So today I'm here with Linda Tilson, an accounting professional with a deep focus on human behavior and the patterns that shape it, supporting people and living with clarity, alignment, and integrity. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you for having me today. I just couldn't wait to have this conversation. When I'm working with men, this comes up all the time about what women want, and they're dissatisfied with this paradigm.
Yeah, they are. They're everyone is dissatisfied, right? Yeah, the women complain, the men complain, and everyone is pitted against each other, and we don't really know what's going on. We're unaware. So we're going to be talking about that. And I'd like to just start off by showing this little slide for us, and let us know if you're watching, y'all, and if you have any questions, any comments about this, the system. Maybe you've been trapped in it, but let's take a look here. So let's talk about this. This is what we're going to talk about: how it's rigged, the system, the provider box. Men are reduced to utility and output. You lead with your wallet to buy safety. Now, it's almost hard for me to read that. I feel sick about it, honestly. And women, the aesthetic box. How beautiful can we be? All right. Worth is reduced to youth and compliance. You lead with beauty to buy security, right? So how does this happen here? I mean, what happens when you follow the rules of this system, right? You're catching a transaction instead of a soul. A transaction, what in the heck is that, right? We do transactions all the time in the grocery store, online, right? And if we're baiting the hook with commodities, right? I mean, what are we catching? Is it fulfilling our soul, fulfilling our needs, right? So, all right, this is just a starting point, and we have a lot of comments, so bear with us. Hi, JJ, thanks for watching. Now, the tech person is overwhelmed here. Let me see here. Okay, there we go. Here we go. All right, y'all. So, commodities, transactions, what in the heck? I mean, what in the heck, Linda? Let's start there. Let me ask you what your thoughts are on this.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on this. And so it's a lot to do with the marketplace. And when I say marketplace, those are those companies that have services that count on people not being able to find partners to have satisfying relationships. If you are to go into a dating app and find your perfect match, you pay your monthly fee, find your match, you come off the site. Well, that doesn't make any money. But there's more. Then the customers have this feeling that they can go onto this app and it's so easy to swipe left and swipe right. And there's always going to be someone better. There's always going to be someone that's going to have more of what they're looking for. So if they don't find it on the first few swipes, it'll happen a few times later. And what that breeds is the consumerism in the marketplace. by both the provider and the customer. And so that's where it all of a sudden becomes transactional again.
Right. And we're not even aware of that we're trapped in this system. And when I used to be on the dating sites, I remember, wow, I've seen this guy on here for years. I thought, what's going on? And then automatically I think, well, that's not a good commodity, right? But people aren't commodities, right? People are human beings with souls, but we're set up into believing, like you said, oh, there's a better one. There's a better one, right? Just puts this one, throw this one away, right? And get another one. And what does that even mean? How can we be fulfilled? What's going wrong in the first place?
There's a lot of things going wrong. And, the first one that comes to mind is the whole lack of commitment because we're transactional. We will enjoy somebody's presence in their company, but the moment we decide it gets hard or tough, we can just ghost or fade out, and then we go on to the next person. And so there isn't this, let's work on this. Let's talk about what's not working. Let's talk about why we're here. So that is very much there. And we also are in society where, again, we have technology. So we love our dopamine hits. We love our ego boosts. We like getting assurance that we have it all, that we're the full package. And so that also leads to, I want that now. I deserve it. And then instead of looking at what you're going to contribute, it's like, what's in it for me? What are you going to give me, in this exchange, this transaction? So it's all of those things working together. And there's less focus on what I would call the slow build. So meeting somebody, talking about your values, your preferences, and then this is the kicker here. This is where I think that where the ultimate problem lies, is because we can hide behind screens and we're not going out into real life situations. What can happen is we end up in what we call fantasy land, where we can text, we can send pictures, we can send voice notes, we can do all this, and we're having a great time. But guess what? A lot of times we don't take it into real life and integrate the person. So we're caught up on this experience, but we're not integrating that person into our life and building something that will become something. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. And this fast-paced texting and demanding that people text back right away. And then if they don't text back right away, then they're not interested. Then you yell at them, or then you say, forget it. This person isn't texting me back. And maybe that person wants to actually go slow and take things, at a pace that would actually build a strong foundation instead of this rapid, like you're saying, dopamine hit. And there's always a prettier face, or there's always a richer person, right? Or it's never ending. But is that what you're looking for, right? This transactional trap is setting us up to look for the material, the superficial qualities of the other people instead of the core values, like you were saying, that the depth. What's the depth of the person? I've seen a lot of posting where people start dating and they're like in this, with their wine glasses and everyone's so excited. And it's just this facade, and it's this rush. Because it's natural, and I don't want to. I'm not shaming anyone. I've done this before too, but now I have awareness. After a lot of, heartbreak, that that this rushing out and saying this is the one, right in the first, month or two, when you've never had soul conversations, and it's been about going to the movies or going to wonderful restaurants. Got people would ask me, oh, where did he take you to dinner? Who cares where he took me to dinner? Right? That ultimately, what does that say? Maybe he has a good choice in restaurants. Other than that, what does that say about him? People will say, oh, well, he's good looking. Great. Okay. He's good looking. What is that? How is that foundation for a restaurant? Right? For a restaurant,
Relationship.
For relationship, right? And so society demands that we, the pressure is on to find a provider, this strong man that always is going to provide. And I've got to find that man, and then I'm successful. right? Once I do that and I say, well, now I've caught him. Look, now I'm worthy. That worthiness trap.
Yes, and as you're thinking here, you haven't even said one thing about how you feel when you're with him, and the qualities are there when you take away the looks, you take away the money. What is there? I mean, besides going out to fancy meals and going on fancy vacations, what is there? What does he bring? What are you contributing? And so, that's one of the things that also has a problem area, because men are also saying, the ones I've spoken to, is the economy is not in a place that actually allows them the time or the finances to actually be able to take a woman out in the way that they like. And so they have these limitations, these financial limitations. And part of it is, them saying that I don't have this, so therefore I don't have anything to offer if I don't have the finances and things in order by the time I am 41, or whatever it is that they do. And so there's all this pressure on them to come up to the level, be the right place in life, be able to provide, be able to have the right career, and be satisfied with everything. And then when it isn't, there's a lot of frustration, depression about that happening. And then on the flip side, women might say that, well, the men are really coming in and they're, saying they don't want to be with us anymore because we want all of these things. And that can be really hard too, because, on the flip side, you mentioned the attractiveness. They want the woman that's physically fit, attractive, and it can be the model woman that you take on your arm, because a woman is an extension of a man to a lot of degree, in the reverse as well, and so there's always this stress on both sides, and it's a constant blame game, or victimhood is what I witness. And so it's like, if you want something different, then you got to quit listening to society's expectations and take into the game how you want to show up and what you want to be. And there's so many things that you can do without having all of the finances in perfect order. I get I get pushback on that one. So I'll be curious to what you think about that.
No, I think so too. My gosh, we're human beings doing our best. Nothing is perfect. And I hear, I've heard men say that when they did have health issues, they were shamed about it by their partners, right? Because men have to be always being a man, right? If you have a health issue, now you're suddenly weak, right? And who can be like, we're human beings. So that's one reason men shut down, because they're being shamed. And it's better to feel nothing to feel than to feel shame. And no one can be on 24/7. It's impossible. I remember a man commenting, "Thank you for saying I don't have to be on 24/7, but realistically, I do." He just felt that's the way it is. And other men saying that they, if they don't have a girlfriend, then society judges them, right? So we're caught in this trap of doing everything for society, like you're saying. If you have the pretty girl on your arm, then you've made it. If you have the tall, the tall guy who's got everything, right? But that's not realistic. We are human beings, and if we're holding out for the material, superficial values and assets, then this is the transaction, right? I'm going into it saying, what can I get from you? Now, how is that even? That's not a human. That's not humanity. That is, what in the heck? What can I get from you? That's not going to lead to any kind of strong foundational love. That's greedy. That's a greed, and it's not looking at the person. Well, we were talking about presence, holding a space of presence, right? How can I get to know you? You don't have to tell me about your car. You don't have to tell me about your house, your job. Tell me about who you are, not about the superficial exterior things about you. And we're going about it all the wrong way when we start dating.
Absolutely. And so this is where the shift can happen, is having awareness around this marketplace that breeds this, and being able to have that awareness that, oh, I can operate differently. Oh, I can be the one, be the person that you want to attract. right? So if you want to have depth and closeness, you want to have someone that contributes to the relationship, someone that stays when it's hard and they don't just fall off and fade out. Well, then you got to be that person, and you got to quit pointing the finger. You got to quit pointing the finger and saying all men do this or all women want that, and just stop that. It ends there. It's what can I do that can change this? How can I operate and not be a part of this system? I actually think that we should just boycott dating sites. I'm 100% in agreement that should happen, because when you can take it offline and actually meet the person, you get to find out, do they have the capacity to carry a relationship? I know of a few people that were using the apps. They meet people, they would text for weeks, and there'd be, oh, let's go out on this date. And they plan a date and a time and do it. It'd come up, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. It happened like 3, 4, 6 times. And eventually the person said, they obviously don't have the capacity to date, so this isn't going to work for me. I just got to let this go, because my investment is too much into this. So people stopped investing. They just figure that they can always put somebody on hold, and that the person's going to wait for them to be ready. Well, no, you need to be ready. If you're going to start something, you need to enter it and actually go through it, right? I mean, why start something if you can't do it?
Right, definitely. And take responsibility if things go awry, right? I mean, you can always say, look, I messed up, or this is happening. I'm sorry. Let's get back. Let's go back to the safe place. Let's start, let's go back to where we all feel safe. How can we get there? And I want to ask you about your childhood. Now, as a child, I thought that that was my job as a little girl, to grow up, be pretty, be skinny. I had people telling me, no guys like fat girls. Guys don't like fat girls. Now, I wasn't fat, but I felt like I was fat. I was an athlete and I was in very good shape, but all I could think was, gosh, I'm so fat. And and my worth is dependent on how pretty I am. And I had my whole life planned out. I thought I'll be 20, I'll get married, I'll have kids, I'll have that. Yeah, of course, the house with a picket fence, this wonderful husband and everything. And but the pressure was on me to be beautiful, because that's all that mattered. And I even remember someone talking about like how they were going to set me up for a marriage. And I guess they were just kidding at the time. But as a little girl, I really believed it. And part of me thought, oh my gosh, good. I don't have to worry, that Cinderella thing. And so what was it like for you as a little girl? Did you feel that same pressure to be skinny and beautiful?
Well, actually, I'm going to say that it wasn't so much to be skinny as it was I wanted to be taller, because I'm not even 5 foot. So I always wanted to be taller. I did want to be skinnier as well. But then I also had something else that I was challenged with. I always was the intelligent, shy, but I thought awkward girl. And so I carried that for many years. And so I never thought that I was someone that could be of value just because of who I am. Because on the inside, I have a very kind heart. I include everyone, and I want everyone to be loved. So I lead with that more than I do for my looks. And if someone tells me I'm attractive, I'm probably gonna I'll accept it, but I'm probably not gonna. I'm probably gonna somewhat deflect it a little bit, because I don't believe it. So that's terrible, right? So over the years, you realize that it's not about all of those artificial things. It's more about how you show up for people and having drive to be successful. And I say drive to be successful, there's so many definitions to that, but really it's just about being productive in the way you want in your life. That matters more than the being 5'7", 100 and I don't know, 10 pounds, let's say. All of that. And what the funny thing is, I worked really hard to get to that thinner figure, and I never knew that I could until the one day I did. And you know what? It's very much like this movie. I became very thin, could wear the hot red dress, and actually it's out on the internet still, but because I did a physical fitness transformation. But you know what? I didn't necessarily get treated any better. I would say that that was irrelevant. How I looked in that dress. It was more like, when I feel good about myself, when we feel good about ourselves, we project a whole different image. And that's what I'd like people to bring to the dating market is bring your whole self, confident self. And that's what's going to make the dating much easier because you're going to be able to have conversations about real things rather than artificial things.
Well, definitely. Yeah. And it's a trap because it's a never ending trap. The men always proving that they're man enough, that they're tough enough, right? And then what does that mean? I mean, that's financially. So the men are always trying to make the money to prove that they're man enough. And then the women are doing everything they can to look pretty enough and to like putting on all makeup in the morning, makeup, I mean, like creams at night, creams in the middle of the day, creams this, that, exfoliate, all this. It's just endless, right? And who is winning here? I mean, that who is really winning when we're living this life, right? When the men go out and buy the nicest house and the nicest car, all this money is being thrown out, and it's not about who we really are at all. I mean, it's lost. And I mean, no wonder relationships fail 50% of the time, because if you don't have a solid foundation, you're just like shooting dice and hoping that you're going to win.
Yeah, you're staying at the surface level, the things that don't really matter at the end of the day. Not first and foremost, it's your character, of who you are and how you show up and how you move through the world. That's more important than any amount of riches. And that's my opinion. Some people would argue that I'm living in a fantasy world by thinking that, but I would, if you gave me a choice between having the $10 million and the perfect house and husband and all of that versus someone that could treat me really well, and maybe I didn't have as much money, but I felt safe and secure and happy in who I was and all of that, I would pick that any day. Because I don't want to be in a cold, heartless relationship that all matters is money. I mean, I don't. So I'm a romantic at heart. I'll tell you that. If you get to know me longer, then you will see that.
Well, that's true. And JJ saying hi, and she's saying, everybody in the comments, give a like. Yes, please give us a like. Great job,
Yes.
ladies. And yeah, we're very hard on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I mean, I see it and I feel sad. I mean, I have people that tell me that really their relationships are dead and they don't talk and they just don't. They go through the motions every day. And it's an endless struggle of look at, I mean, what society has told me I have to have. My children look pretty, right? And so then the children are commodities also, right? Doing the right dresses, doing everything or all the
Instagram happy.
right. So everything is like it's being marketed. We're being marketed and we don't even know it. That's the sad thing. And you're right with I mean, since many people are not creating a foundation based on moral values, then they're no wonder the people are on the dating sites all the time. Oh, that guy was on it for years and there he is again, because there's no foundation. When we skip over moral values, what is it based on? And a lot of people, when you say, what are your morals or what's the moral code, they haven't really thought about it. Do you think that, or maybe I'm naive? I don't
No,
know.
you're right. You're right. Because if you think about it, when you're on a dating site and look for pictures, you're looking for what's aesthetically appealing to you. And you know what? Not everyone that's on those sites is actually the person that they present themselves either. There could be a picture from, 10 years ago. It could be their best friend and they put their name on it. Who knows? So everything is surface level there. And so no one's thinking about morals. Like what do I find as a moral, Christian values? Do I find that doing what you'll say you'll do? Do I find that, not committing crimes. What are my moral values, my moral code, and what does that look like for the partner that I'm going to have? Someone that we get married and we're together for life, or we get married and no, it's just a piece of paper, so you can tear it up at any time and move on to the next person. I mean,
Right. And a lot of people come to the relationship with some, well, checklists and ideas of what it's going to be like. You've got, he's got to be tall. Like I've seen, and you probably know about this, men know
oh
about
yeah,
it, about I will not go out with a man that is, under this height. Right. Okay. Well, I would say that's a red flag that I would recommend, that that would not probably be a person that I would go out with if I was a man, someone that said
yes.
that. If I was 6 foot, I wouldn't go out with that person, because when you're
Mhm.
judging, I couldn't determine how tall I'm going to be. What does that have to do with me at all? Nothing.
Oh goodness, yes.
So the checklist, right, has to be
Yes.
tall, has to have this much money, has to have a nice house, right? I've had men say, that car wasn't good enough for her, the house wasn't good enough for her. What the heck? Well, consider yourself, oh my gosh, lucky if that is what she's judging on you on, the house, the car. She doesn't care about you. What is
Yeah,
she
she just
looking
wants
for?
about what she can get out of the transaction. This seems sad to me. And
It's
actually,
awful.
and as you're sitting here, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm that very strange 1% person that I would see a tall woman towering over a short man and think that that was beautiful. That's how, I guess I have the advantage that because I'm barely 5 foot tall, most men are going to be taller than me. But I met some that are actually in my youth that were shorter to me, or shorter than me until they grew, and then they were towering over. So yeah, but I've never like said I wanted a certain height or even build for that matter. I mean, to me, the heart mattered more than anything, and we talked about that, having that soul connection, that heart connection. If I don't have that, I don't care about any of the other stuff, because yeah, it's just yeah. So, but
Well,
again, I think I'm in that maybe that 1% of people when I look for things.
yeah, and a lot of people, I'm sad to say, and it because of wounds, they're afraid to show the heart connection. So
Hmm.
they will sell them. I used to sell myself, right? I would used to do everything I could, and I would pretend that I liked the same thing the guy did. I would go along with it, and just thinking that I was buying love, right? I was an object to be bought, and I would do everything to be the shiny object, the shiny beautiful object. Forget about who I was inside. That didn't matter, right? I never once thought about morals or any of that. And I'm talking, of course, in the past, right? Now I do, but it wasn't anything that mattered to me. What mattered was, can this guy provide for me? What am I going to get out of him? And that is so selfish. That was so selfish on my part. And I didn't recognize anyone's worth, right? I was doing what society said. I didn't recognize my worth. I didn't recognize his worth. I only saw, the material aspects that he could bring to the relationship. I didn't care if anything else mattered, you know?
Because that's what the system breeds, that you will come, you will look as attractive as possible, you'll like all the same things, you'll like the same interests, you'll do all these things to even energetically be feminine in a way that he would like, and be submissive. You can go down all these different things that people say that they would like in their partner. And I've noticed too, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but as people age, they become conditioned to all the relationships that they've had before. And so they're kind of soured. So I noticed that some of the younger people have a little bit better outlook about what it is that they would like. And they are not so much needing to unlearn everything as they are to learn, in the now. How do I practice healthy dating behaviors when I meet someone? How do I know when to ask her? How do I know when to pace her when it becomes, when I want to be intimate? These are the questions that come up, that young people are thinking about these things, whereas older people are like, I don't date, I don't want it anymore. They want blah, 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 blah. I'm out. Peace out, And so, what have you noticed that the ages of the people in the dating population, the younger people are more optimistic, or not? I mean, maybe I'm just using an example that I've seen, but it seems like they are.
No, I think you're right. They're not as jaded, right? And some of them are taking their time more so. I mean, there's this pressure just to move fast also. It's no, it's a lot of you young people want that too. And this jumping into bed and getting physical. I mean, once you do that, just forget it. I mean, if you don't have any core values,
You're
just
not going to have
forget
them
it.
any later.
I
You already got the
know.
best that you've seen of them.
Good luck. I mean, you're because now you're just like I said, you're just rolling the dice. Maybe
Mhm.
it'll work. Maybe you don't want a that's a thing. Maybe you don't want a deep relationship and you can stay at that surface and that's okay. But realize hard times, I mean, there are going to be times that you have to look at things at a different level. Like people get sick, right?
Mhm.
Chronic illness, there's death, there's issues. And so it can't always stay at the surface level. So when you are going to have to go there with your partner. So that's when when things fall apart. You'll see like maybe a child died and they split. Now that could bring people closer together if you already have a strong foundation, but if you don't
Mhm.
even really know each other and then this turbulence comes, then you're really navigating on waters that you've never been on before.
That's right, because you and I were talking in preparation for these different live streams, that people, a lot of times will celebrate all of the good, and then they're not necessarily being accountable for the things that are not so good. And so there needs to be a blend of both of those things. And then, you just said that people, we jump in bed with somebody and before we even know them. And then, it's not going to go very well. And so it's slowing down to speed up. It's just like, give some pacing, some time for things to grow and to cultivate, and see how someone responds under stress. Do they run away? Do they ghost out? Or do they stay and want to work with you? I mean, you want to know how someone's going to behave when things aren't so good. And you mentioned that sicknesses and death and other things. And you can't possibly do that unless you invest in getting to know someone in a way that's not artificial.
And you have to realize that there will be bumpy times no matter what. Now, are you going to be able, are you, me, am I going to be able to say, I need to talk? I mean, this needs to be discussed. Or am I going to run and not want to talk about it? How are we going to make it if we can't talk about the issues in our relationship? I mean, I don't know how that works if you can't talk about the issues. It doesn't work, right? Because then you're just shoving things in the closet. Things are going to come out if they're in the closet. They'll destroy the relationship. We have to be able to communicate.
Exactly, because you're gonna, when people don't get to say what needs to be said, then resentment will build, and then until it finds a way out, because it will. And yeah, so thank you for bringing up that point as well.
Yeah, and I did ask some of my friends, let me look right now because some of my male friends, and one of them was a beautiful. I'm going to read it to you. I said, can I share this? I won't share your name, and he said yes. So this is what he said he was looking for. He said that I feel like in a partner, I'm looking for someone emotionally mature who can communicate honestly, take accountability, and genuinely wants to grow together and have their own sense of purpose and deriving happiness from within instead of relying on others. And he said, I think there are a lot of good people out there, but I think they're rare because a lot of people are disconnected with themselves right now. He said, dating feels more like surface level connection and experience these days, also transactional sometimes. So I understand why it feels discouraging. Um, So he just said it a meaningful connection is harder to find now, especially if our standards are deeper than just attraction and status. So that
Love
was
it.
very hopeful for me. I loved hearing that. I said, "Oh, thank God." You know what I mean? That was beautiful. I loved that the grow together and
Mhm.
acknowledging, that the inner qualities. He didn't say she has to be beautiful, she has to be, this or that, any of the stuff. He talked about the inner qualities and as a team.
Yes, and that's a good way to go. And then all the other things, they're additive to that. But you have the core foundational person. You're building in relationship with the person. And he said it well about learning and growing together. I mean, we're always evolving. Who were when we're 20 is not who we are in our 40s and 50s, for example. We've gone through extensive change. Yes, a lot of our core values are the same, but we go through a lot of changes. And I don't know, I want the person that can go with me through the changes of life, the good, the bad, and everything in between. That to me is what we're here for, is that connection in a way that we evolve.
Yeah, that is so important because I've been in relationships where I was the one growing and they were stagnant and it didn't work. I'm like, "Come on, please, come on." Right? No, 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 just stuck in time. And even looking back now at some of these people, they're still stuck in time 30 or 40 years ago. And I'm like, and so yeah, that's very important. The growth that the both people want to grow together, because if you don't grow together, then one's going to leave the other. And the self-awareness to know that they have to have some sort of self-awareness to recognize how they're showing up in the relationship. And I'm not saying I'm saying, I mean, yes, they do and I do. I have to know, how am I showing up? I have to be able to take responsibility for my behavior. How did I show up last night? You're telling me that I hurt your feelings. Well, I have to be able to not jump on the defense. I have to be able to say, "Please tell me, how did I hurt your feelings? I want to understand." We have to have good communication. If we're just jumping into bed, where's the communication, right? Jumping into bed is nice. I mean, that's all I give it. Whatever, must feel good. I mean, whatever. I mean, but where's the conversations about resolving conflict? If you can't have a conversation about resolving conflict right from the start, don't be afraid of it. We're so afraid to say something heavy, but this is essential. I mean, we're not afraid to take off all our clothes.
Yeah, so it's a different type of taking off clothes. So you're going to be vulnerable enough to take in that, oh, I've hurt somebody in a certain way, and like, oh, I screwed up. Okay, I need to pay attention here and listen to how I could come into this better, and not, like you said, be defensive about it, because a lot of us want to be defensive. No, I wasn't meaning that. You took it the wrong way. And then all of a sudden you are shutting down the other person's ability to express how you hurt them. You don't get to choose uh, whether or not you hurt somebody. If somebody feels hurt and it's something that an action that was present, then you need to take inventory of it, acceptance of it, and be willing to at least go into the conversation to see, what could be better. You may or may not come to the agreement that it was all your doing, that maybe the other person was responding in a certain way. But if you know that if something you're doing causes the other person to shut down or not express themselves or get defensive, you got to think about, I gotta, if I want this to last, I need to change what I'm doing. And because I'm just alienating my partner and they're getting further and further away, when it can be really simple to I guess that's where you just have to be humble and say, okay, you're right, I did do this thing and it does make you feel bad. You're telling me this. Okay, I need to try and keep this in check. And maybe, would you help me with this? Would you help me when I go down this path and I'm trying and it's still falling apart? Will you help me? I mean, that's the better conversation to have.
Yeah, it is, and when enter into these relationships transactionally, we don't even think about that because
Mm-mm.
we're so focused on the assets again. I mean, that it doesn't even come into play. I mean, and that's the system that we're, again, the system that we are caught in. So how do we get out of the system? I mean, how do we value people not as transactions? Because a transaction can just be thrown in the trash. Oh, well, that was just an object, right? When we become object, we can do anything to anyone. Oh, that person's upset. Oh, well, whatever, I'll just find another one.
Yes, and that'll get very exhausting, always moving through a series of people to find another one. So, really, to get out of that system, you have to realize that are in that you are in that system, but you can choose to play differently. You can choose to exit the system. You can choose to move through the system differently. You can choose not to accept that and choose differently. Because all of this is all about choice. Regardless of what system you are in, there is always a choice to do or not to do something. And so you can be in an environment, we can say that in this economic situation that we're in, that we don't have the economic means to really date in the way that we'd like. Well, okay, well, what can we do? There's things that we can do even if the economics aren't what they need to be. We can choose to do something differently. Yes, there might be constraints, but it's not an absolute. There's still things that we can do.
Yes, I mean, the most, to create the foundation that relationships last on, they're not based on money. They're based on soul, right? It's not about the money at all. It's about having the courage to share and be vulnerable. And if you're sharing and someone doesn't want to hear it, or like if I say, let's talk about how do you resolve conflict? I want to share with you how I resolve conflict, and I'd love to have a discussion about that. If they don't want to talk about it, don't be afraid to know that they're not the perfect person for you. I remember there was a lady that she was very, well, she was upset because there were certain things that didn't jive with her. And she said, but he was so good looking. Don't be afraid to lose someone good looking. Right? I mean, the thing is, don't be afraid to have those deeper conversations, but you have to be vulnerable to say it and see how they respond to that. Are they going to run away from that? Are they going to be able to hold that space of a depth? Because ultimately, if you want to create a relationship that's not based on transactional, then the only option is depth. And that's giving. It's not about like, oh, you gave me flowers, so now I'm going to be intimate with you, whatever, it's not, this is not the way it works. It's about um, giving from the heart, right? If you want to give somebody flowers, don't give to get, don't give to receive, because then you're right back in that transactional setup. And nothing works on transactions. Because once you run out of currency, then you're out the door. You're treated like an asset and thrown in the trash.
Yes, and so, what I'm thinking as you're talking about this, it's about being able to stand in conviction and say what needs to be said and having the courage to participate in a way that is meaningful to you. And so if you're with someone that's very good looking and they treat you less than and they shut you down all the time and don't let you ever speak your thoughts, well, do you really value and want to invest in that? I mean, you need to be honest with yourself. If you stay and accept that, then that's on you for not speaking up, for not being convicted and expressing what's, what you value and what's not okay for that matter. If somebody isn't stepping into the place where it feels like you are being in connection and growing in a respectful way that both people want to have.
Right, I know. And we need to get real honest here and look at
Yes.
ourselves. Like, yeah, and we have to look really, what is more important. Are you willing to be vulnerable and get a relationship that will last? Or is that too frightening for you? Are you willing? Then you have to be okay with your decision. I'm willing to take a chance. I'm willing to take a chance at the dice. Maybe it won't be good. Maybe I'll just keep with the shallow relationship and it won't be that depth. But we're all responsible for our choices. So if you want a transactional relationship, that's go ahead and get it. I mean, that's not what I want, and I want more for you than that. But ultimately, if that's what you want, I'm not here to say don't do it. I'm here just to show the benefits and the liabilities of the liability of having a transactional relationship and the benefit of having a soul relationship, right? And there are layers to relationships. Yes, you can stay at the surface level for 20, 30, 40 years, but does that, I mean, what does that guarantee? It might look beautiful on the outside, but are you being fulfilled inside?
Yes. And so it's all about return on investment. How much are you willing to invest? And what is your return going to be? Well, it's going to be equal to what you're giving. And so if you, like you said, there's different types of relationships. And so, yes, there's a time and a place for the ones that are less in depth. There really are. But we're speaking or advocating for, you want to have a lifelong relationship with somebody. There's certain things that we need to think about uh, in the way that we show up, in the way that we express ourselves with our partners. Otherwise, we don't put the investment in. Well, why would we expect the other person to put the investment in? So, contribution is, the biggest thing that I think is the driver. How much are you willing to contribute and invest?
Right. And it has to be a conscious decision. You have to
Mhm.
think about it. Like maybe you've been out with whatever, 10 people, 5 people, 50 people your whole life, right? Look back. What have I done? Right. And what am I going to do now? And really think about it. How am I going to show up differently to create a different kind of relationship? What have I created in the past? Was it transactional? Is that what I had? Right? What can I do differently? How can I move slowly and be understanding of someone else and want to understand before jumping to the conclusion, oh, well, he didn't text me back, so he must be a jerk, right? How can we stop ourselves from assuming and be better communicators, right? And allow people space, right?
Mhm.
Not be so demanding of them. See, we're in this such a fast pace. I text you, you better text me right back. I mean, people deserve space.
Yeah, and they also deserve someone that's healthy, that isn't so insecure that they're looking at that they did something wrong, and why aren't you texting me, you jerk? Because that's not helpful or healthy to do that. So people, I think, need to go back to the basics: as how do we operate as a healthy person, so we're a whole person when we enter the relationships. I think people think, oh, they're my other half, my better half. No, you both are a whole. And so whatever you have, it should be additive, and just it's a different way of thinking. But I think if you come that way, then you're less thinking about the scarcity, about not being enough, and yeah, and just pointing the finger and saying that all people are bad in this way, and that there's nobody good out there. The number or percentage might be smaller based on your values and your standards. And I tell people, no, do not lower your standards, because then it's just going to breed resentment, and you're not going to have what you want. Yes, have your standards, but know that it might be lonely sometimes until you actually meet that person, because not everyone's going to be able to meet you where you are. And so, it's the long game. I just said to a gentleman the other day, dating is the long game. You've only met this person one time, and so you can't really base anything yet, because you haven't spent long enough observing how they relate to you, how they relate in the world. You have no idea how they are, other than the 2 hours and you might have spent with them. That's all you have, and so you don't know anything really. And so you got to give it time, and take off the pressure to perform.
Right. And one thing that really made me laugh was I was saying, and you were agreeing, like, I don't want to be told that I'm beautiful. I just don't want to hear it. I mean, that's nice. It's nice. That's not, I don't want to be told you're beautiful, you're pretty, and all that. I want to be told, I value your soul. I value your character. I appreciate your morals. I appreciate your vulnerability. But I love that you said the same thing.
Because at the end of the day, that matters to me more about my character. You know, I just think that that's important. Hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, as women, we're set up to need to, I mean, society says you have to be told you're beautiful. I mean, I look at Facebook, a woman posts a picture and there they are, the validation, because society says we have to validate her beauty. You're beautiful, you're pretty. And it's like, I'm sometimes I don't want to post, I'll change my profile picture and I don't want to, because as those comments are nice, but I don't post the picture for that. I post it because I have to. I mean, please say I love your heart or something else.
Okay, next time you change your profile pic, I will say, I love your heart.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's nice. And I don't mean to tear down the compliments. It's just that, okay, so I'm weird. Okay, I admit it. I'm weird.
You know what? Being weird is actually unique and special, and so I'm weird right there with you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I want depth. I demand it in relationships. If I have to be alone for the rest of my life, I would gladly be alone for the rest of my life if I had to trade it for a shallow relationship, right? No way. I can't, that suffocates me, right? I can't just have small talk. It just kills me. So, yeah, I mean, we have to look at, I mean, what are our needs? That's my need in my life, right? What do I need? So I'm not going to sacrifice. And like you said, I'm not going to my standards. I'm not going to lower my standards. Someone told me today, he was joking and he said, "Oh yeah, my friend told me that when he meets a woman that's not up to his standards, he just lowers his standards." Anyway, I'm not lowering my standards.
I mean, you can choose to do that, but I don't advocate for it.
Yeah, no matter how beautiful they are, or how tall and handsome they are, or how many, yachts and whatever, houses they have, please don't lower your standards. The standards are inside the core values. If anything, the one thing that I really want people to understand today is the core values matters. Not that what am I going to get and what are you going to give to me, but how do we sync up in what we believe is morally right?
Exactly.
So, anyway, yes, I'm very passionate about these things. It, I mean, because I want everyone to feel the joy when you do actually align with core values. It's amazing. I mean,
Oh, you can feel it in your body when somebody you meet is the right person for you. You don't have to guess or wonder. You just know, you feel it. And so you try to explain that to other people who haven't experienced it that yet, and they don't understand. And so I say, just wait. When you don't have to calculate your strategy for communication and for how you're going to progress the relationship and how you're going to, I don't know, talk about the future and all these things. The moment you don't have to do all of that and you just show up like you are and be who you are, and it works, and nothing that you would do necessarily would make it fall away. I mean, not, you have to be in good character, but for the most part, you're not having to calculate, how am I going to show up? Do I have to like all of their hobbies? Do I have to bring a certain something or another to this? And so you just know, you share your values and your preferences on the very first interaction, and that will save you a lot of heartbreak, a lot of time of investing in the wrong people. Because wouldn't you rather have it fall away, if it needs to fall away in that after that first meeting, than to go 6 months and have it happen to you after you put all that time and investment? You can't get time back in your life. When once you spent it, it's there. And why would you we always look, I have to say this before we end, is that people feel like when things fail and they're not for us, and we find that out, that that's like the end all of be all of being a failure. No, actually, it is giving you a gift, because then you are open and available and have capacity for the right people to flow in. And I would say, as people have left my life of all different types of relationships, other people would flow in, and it's just a constant flowing in and flowing out. And so just enjoy every moment that you're in, and don't be so stuck on controlling that outcome.
Right, exactly. And when you show up as your authentic self and you actually sync with someone that's
Mhm.
that's on the same frequency and vibration, they're the same moral value, right? You're not going to have to think about what to say. You'll speak and they will immediately be in alignment with it, because you're on the same wavelength of core values. You don't have to say, "Oh, well, I'm scared to say that." I don't know what, I can't even think of anything, but you're not afraid. I used to be afraid to speak my truth. And when you're in with someone aligned like that, there's no fear. You just
No.
speak, and everyone is like, yes, finally.
Yeah, someone that sees me, someone that gets me, and I've got your back too. Those are the things that happen when you're so in sync with somebody energetically and soul wise. And when you have that, you don't want anything else. I will tell you, you're like, why did I entertain all of these other people that, you know? And so, part of the life experiences, you have to live the experience to be able to have the appreciation for it. And so, we're speaking from our lived experience. We know it's not the same as everyone today, but just enjoy your life, enjoy all parts of the experience, and just be open to possibility of where things can go when you just authentically be who you are. Just do that. Be yourself and be that version on day one, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble.
That's very true. And I love Daniel Broccoli's here. He said, lots of good advice in here for relationships. My wife and our soulmates, and I hope we can remain vulnerable and communicate forever. Praise God. Yes, praise God. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you.
I love it. Yes, there's a good example, right? A good example of vulnerability and communication. That's the foundation. So thank you, Daniel Broccoli. And wow, I guess we could talk about this for hours, but we will
He's
not do
totally
that.
good.
We will wrap it up. And Linda, any final words? I mean, I just say, I mean, my final word is be authentic and step up into vulnerability, and you will attract that. And forget about the transactions.
And I don't think I could say it any better than than you put that. We're on the same page, and so yes.
Yes, and Linda and I also are doing another series on relationships. Or where are you shopping in your relationships, at the convenience store or the Whole Food store? So our next episode is Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is, what's the name of it? I thought of, I know it, but you know it.
No, I forgot at the top
Okay,
of my head.
I got it. You know what? It
Oh
was
my goodness.
about taking responsibility.
Yes, taking responsibility. Yes. So you're going to hear some of the same threads of today, but we're going to take it another step deeper.
Right. Showing up. And that doesn't mean just taking responsibility for the bad. We're taking responsibility for everything. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a little, we're doing our relationship series. It's a shorter one. I mean, probably about 30 minutes. So if you want to catch it, catch the things. We're really wanting to get the voice out so everyone can feel free and happy and loved. So
Yes.
thank you, Linda. And thanks, Daniel Broccoli and JJ. And check us out Wednesday at 3.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, y'all.